Hello, one and all, to our podcast, The Server Knights. Here with me today is my dad, Rebel Knight, and my brother, Saint Weeb. Since we're coming up on the month of October, we'll be doing paranormal stuff today. Also, duly noted that we are sick, like all sick, so yeah, that's something we have to deal with. So I'm going to pass it off to my dad because he has actually done paranormal work in the past as well. If you could.
Thank you, son. And thank you for making those noises while drinking while your brother's trying to get to the intro. Rude, so
Started
rude.
to explode too. I had to drink. Oh, I was still doing it.
And you just think you're funny, but you're really not. He was trying to be quiet, and then he was trying to make noise just to annoy you, and then ended up spitting halfway through.
If you didn't realize, I'm actually here with them this time. So
yeah, he's in the room with us this time, so this will be interesting. Hopefully the microphones are working good and you can hear us okay.
Should be all fine.
Yeah. So I used to do paranormal work. Let's get started with that, because this will probably be posting during the month of October, which is of course our favorite time of year as Halloween. We love the paranormal and ghosts and goblins and scary stories and all that. We also like horror films too, which might be one of our topics we talk about this month. Yes. But we're going to try and do 4 episodes of just Halloween stuff. Today's going to be about paranormal, and I was actually the founder of a ghost hunting team for over a decade, and we did see a lot. Now, we say paranormal investigators. There's a difference in my mind as to that and ghost hunters. Ghost hunters are kind of a generalized anybody who goes out and tries to hunt down ghosts. But we were paranormal researchers, and the biggest difference for me is when we talk about the paranormal, it's based on the word normal. What the normal parameters are for what we see and hear and feel. But when it comes to paranormal, that's the stuff that's outside of the normal realm. So if I was to go into a room and I see something flash in front of me, well, that could be a car driving by outside. It could be a light bulb flashing.
Kind of trying to explain it.
Exactly. If I can explain it away in any way, shape, or form, then it's normal. Anything beyond those parameters, if I cannot explain it in any way, that's considered paranormal. So, trying to give you an idea of where we stand as a family, we actually have seen a lot of paranormal. Everything from psychic work to future tellings to seeing ghosts and feeling them. And when we did paranormal research, there was a big difference in what I saw and what I brought home. We didn't see as much coming to us, places that we lived. There was things that we saw. In general, though,
things that followed us and whatnot.
Yeah. Generally, though, as far as our family goes, is we are believers. We know, we've seen enough to know that there are ghosts in this world.
I haven't seen shit because I'm pretty much a normie, but at the same time, I do believe in ghosts and stuff like that.
Well, now, wait. No, at the last house we lived in, when you were in high school, did you or did you not see shadows or shadow people?
Well, I do, but
because didn't you tell me once?
Technically, that could be explained away by, like, me being in the dark and seeing stuff. It could also be explained by me moving around and seeing, like, a blanket or something like that. But at the same time, I do believe that there could be something there, even if it's not.
Okay, so that being said, just because you haven't seen the paranormal does not mean you haven't experienced the paranormal. There have been times I remember where, like, I brought home a little, like, fire truck or something from, like, a dumpster, because I used to dumpster dive because I was a kid. And I remember, I think it was you, Dad, that told me about how you found him, like, staring at the static TV, almost like specific, like, what's it called, like paranormal style. Like,
wait,
what was that movie?
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
She stared at the static on the TV, but they were talking within the static.
Yeah, like I think if I remember correctly, there was a time where I brought home that little fire truck, and you were talking to the TV or something, and it was static, so you
That,
weren't actually. And Dad had to throw out that fire truck,
I mean,
or
truthfully, I was
it
a
might have
weird.
been a regular.
Truthfully, I was
It
a
was a
weird
fire
kid,
truck.
but at the same time, that is kind of creepy because I don't
Well,
remember that at all.
yeah. The thing is, it was like in the middle of the night or something, like near midnight.
So
That's
then, when you guys were little, that's when I kind of first started doing paranormal work, and I should preempt this with is I always saw a lot of paranormal stuff when I was a kid. There was like weird things that would happen, and I always just tried to ignore it, don't talk about it, maybe it'll go away, and it did. There's also stuff that came back later on that I was like, oh my gosh, that explains that. It explains everything. But when it came to when you guys were little, I started to really get into paranormal work, and once you start to believe, and you have a almost a faith in it that you know that it's there, the more you believe, the more you're going to see. So it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. The where you can sense it, you can see it, and they will show themselves to you. It's crazy. The more that you believe, the less you believe, the more that you have like these curtains over your eyes that you get told when you're most of the time when you go when people are kids. When I was a kid, we were told, oh, there's no such thing as ghosts, there's no such thing as goblins, and there's, oh, it's just your imagination. When you just tell yourself it's my imagination, oh, I must have, you just explain it away as, oh, that was just, the wind or something. When you believe all that, then you don't really see the whole picture. And I still believe, and this is one of my theories, is that we all have the ability to see and hear and sorry that was, you can hear and see and do all that stuff. Our minds are able to do it. We just block that.
Yeah, like a mental block.
It's like a mental block, and but we're taught that as kids that's okay to block that.
I remember back when I was younger, I used to see things very clearly,
Mhm.
and
Oh yeah,
pretty far better than the average kid. But
well, we can talk about that too.
we definitely can. We'll lead into it into a second here, but for now, I used to see things very clearly, and I just thought it was normal more than anything. So obviously, I saw it fairly often and fairly well. But as soon as I started hearing like that's not normal or that's fucking crazy or that's super cool, it was like, oh well,
From
that's
like
kind of
friends and stuff like that.
yeah, from like anybody around me who said it was like weird or not normal. I was like, oh okay, that's not normal. So I stopped seeing as much. But it's kind of it still lingers every once in a while. It kind of like I can sense that something's there. Or, there's been a couple times where I've seen some like crazy shit like coming at me, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Well, and I still get that too. I will still to this day. Now it doesn't happen as often, but I'll go into like somebody else's house, and I'm like, whoa, that's weird. There's something here. You can sense when there's something here when you pay attention to the little things around you, the way your body reacts and feels. There are ways to tell when there's a ghost nearby because they drain energy. So again, this is another theory, is that spirits are basically just pure energy, and that when they want to manifest, they want to touch, they want to feel, they want to sense something, they draw in energy, and heat is energy, which is why you get cold spots, why the room goes cold. They're about to do something.
Yeah.
So, and that of course also comes from experience, and a lot of the hunting and ghost hunting that we did, and then later on we were doing paranormal research in the buildings and offices that we were at. Rooms that went like dropped in like a 5 to 10 degree temperature in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
We knew something was going on.
Yeah.
So we would focus on those areas.
I have kind of a weird specific belief that kind of draws into the scientific side of it. I kind of believe that spirits and energy and stuff, we kind of leave behind these like quantum anomalies, and it's all resonance from like our energy because we're so filled with energy all the time, and it just keeps building up over and over that we have to have stored energy, right? Like as a backup. So when we die, where does that stored energy go?
There's actually a scientific fact behind that. Our bodies lose 21 grams of weight.
Yes.
When our body dies, there's 21 grams of weight lost from our system, and to this day they still cannot explain why. I think it's that energy stored within us it leaves the corporeal
Corporeal.
corporeal bodies
Corporeal
that we
organ.
have, and when it does, we drop those 21 grams, which is kind of an unusual thing. And this goes back to Einstein's theory on energy, was that energy does not dissipate. It doesn't just poof go up in smoke. It just displaces. It goes other places. And I think with thought and reason, we have the ability to control that energy, because I think that's just how our minds work. Our minds are electrical impulses. It's why you can, in certain investigations we did, there was times when, like, I literally heard like a giant crash in the kitchen, and we'd all run to the kitchen because of what I said. And then I look around and I'm like, oh my gosh, nothing's moved. Everything's in order. And yet the rest of the team was like, we didn't hear a crash. We didn't hear anything. It's why certain people will see ghosts walking through a hallway, but other people will not.
I had a very specific instance of that happen to me when we were younger. Do you remember that one place we lived in that had like the fire truck bed and the double decker bed, the bunk bed? I remember, in particular, there was a time where I heard you guys screaming and yelling down the hall for help, and I was so afraid of what might be over there. But I kind of went to go check, and nothing was wrong. You guys were in bed, and so I rushed back to the room, right? And I was like, what the fuck was that? What just happened? And that was when the bats came out of the vent up at the top of the vent over at,
okay, that was the duplex we lived in.
Yeah, that place was hella fucking haunted.
There was definitely something going on there, because it was that one. That's when things really started getting interesting with you, because you saw your teacher one night.
I still remember that.
He's
like visually remember that. I remember.
Well, let's get into it. When you were even younger than that, let's go back to when you were really little. So you were about, I'd say, a year to almost just over a year, and strangely enough, you could speak in full sentences. Which your aunt, who's a teacher, you went up to her and said at one point, "Can I get a juice box from the refrigerator?" And she goes, "Sure, sweetie." And she gets it to you, and you go, "Thank you so much," and walked away. You were a year old, and she came to me. She goes, "That is creepy. Why can he speak so clear at this age?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. We weren't doing anything in particular that was special or anything. You just could.
Dark magic.
So with that said, the one, there was your uncle, who's been my best friend since the 5th grade. Uncle, his wife was pregnant. She was 7 months pregnant. He was 2 months away from giving birth, from the month birth. And he called me up, and I've known this man my whole life. He was crying, and I freaked out. I'm like, "What's going on?" And he says, "He's about to lose the baby. The lung is outside of the chest. The heart's outside the chest, clubbed hands and feet, the brain, there was bleeding on the brain." And he says, "We're going to lose the baby." And he was telling me all these things. And I just started crying too, because he was so excited that he was going to have his son. He was going to name him Ethan. It was going to be this great thing, because here I am with all my sons. And he was excited about it. They were both so excited about it. And then to have this news, and 7 months in, we were sure the baby was coming, and it was going to be so exciting. And you came to me while I'm sitting there crying, and you pat me on the knee, because I'm sitting down, and you come up to my knee and you pat me on the knee, and you're like, "It's okay, Daddy. I see 2 smiling faces. I see 2 smiling faces. Oh, it's okay, Dad." And I'm crying, and I can't stop, And I just keep telling your mom, "Will you please take him?" And she's trying to drag you away, and you're starting to scream. "It's okay, Daddy. I see 2 smiling faces. I see 2 smiling faces. Daddy, Daddy, I see 2 smiling faces. It's okay. You don't have to cry. It's okay." And she literally carried you out of the room because you wouldn't stop. And I was trying to talk to him, and I didn't know your uncle caught on to this, but he could hear it. And because you were screaming. So
I was a casual in that case.
Yes. For a year and a half old. Yes.
Yeah.
So she drags you out of the room, and we continue with our conversation, and we wipe our tears, and I tell your mom what's going on and what would happen, and we moved on with our lives. They moved on with their lives, and it was a very sad moment. A year later, almost to the day, your uncle calls me up and he goes, "Hey, well, what's going on?" And he's like, "What was it that said last year when I called you about my son not being able to be born?" I'm like, "I don't remember. It was something about two smiling faces." And he goes, "Yeah, that's it. I see two smiling faces," is what he said. I'm like, "Yeah, he did." He goes, "Well, I have some news. Now he's got my attention." And he goes, "Is pregnant." I'm like, "Oh, well, congratulations. That's amazing." And he goes, "We just got the news today. It's going to be twins." Now, to me, that is a little creepy. That is something that a year and a half year old shouldn't be able to predict.
Powerful psychic.
But
shit, yo.
you called it. Now, in that year's time, well, in that year before your uncle, a bunch of other things happened too.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those. There was once where I had the stomach flu really bad, and I had stomach cramps, and I had a fever. I was sick, and I was curled up on the couch. I remember I was on the couch. I was curled up on the couch, and we had vaulted ceilings. And you come in, and you go, "There's Papa." Okay, you're like 2, and your brother's like a baby, and that would be you, by the way. That would be you, a gate man.
By the way.
By the way,
I'll cut it out. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so, but it's one of those things where your mom was in there bathing you, and you're just running around the house like a 2-year-old does, and you didn't know who Papa was. Who was Papa? And your grandfather. Yeah. But you looked up at the ceiling and said, "There's Papa." Why you would know this, I don't know. But you knew who it was, and you pointed to him, and then you waved, and you said hi. And I'm sitting there, curled up on the couch, really bad stomach cramps, and I'm in pain. And I go, "Good, tell him that I am in a lot of pain, and I need the pain to go away. And you'll help, Papa." And so all of a sudden, my stomach got really, really warm, and the stomach cramps released, like everything went fine. And I sat up on the couch like my fever had just dropped. It was and it was amazing. And then you ran out of the room, and I remember you came back, and I go, "Is Papa still here?" And he goes, "Nope, he's gone," and ran off again. And
Which kind of leads me to believe, since I knew who he was, that maybe I've had more conversations with him than I remember.
Oh yeah, you had tons. And actually, not just my father, but your mom's father, who passed away when she was about 10 years old. So you even saw him, and I'll get to that too. That was at the duplex.
There's a lot that happened in that duplex.
Yes, there was. But back at the old first apartment when we first had you, and that was one of the two interesting things happened. But the most interesting one for me was, and I had just started doing paranormal research, but we had a walk-in closet right next to the bathroom sink in our bedroom, in the master bedroom. Big walk-in closet. And I was at work, and I would call your mom on my lunch breaks, and I called her up and say, "How are things going with the kid?" And she's like, "Oh, he's doing good. Something weird happened. He won't go in the walk-in closet in our room, because he says there's a lady in there trying to grab him." And I'm like, "It's probably just the clothes. We got a lot of clothes in there, and one sleeve could be hanging out weird, and it looks like a somebody's hand or something." And she goes, "I don't know. He refuses to go in there, and it just seems weird." And he says she's trying to get him. She is trying to get him. And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll check it out when I get home." So when I get home, I set all my stuff down, drop off everything I need. And you would usually pick you up and carry you around and play with you and see you. It was just how it was. And when I hand you my arms, I'll walk to the closet. And you go, "No, Daddy." And I'm all, "What?" And I I open up the closet door and he goes, no, no, no. And I'm all, buddy, there's nothing in there. There's nothing to be scared of in there. There's not. Look, it's just sleeves. And I reach in with just my arm and I flip a couple of, I'm all, look, it's just clothes. There's nothing in there. No, Daddy. And I'm all, look, I'm going to take you in there because you're going to go in. And I start to go in with you and you freak out. You scratched my neck. You crawled over my shoulder and you almost dropped you. You're exactly. You just went nuts. So I go, okay. And I set you down and you ran off. I'm well, that's just weird. So I call one of my friends, one of the first psychics I trust and knew. And I had told her what was going on and she gave me a way to remedy this. She goes, what I want you to do is I want you to try this and see if it works. So I'm like, okay, sounds good. What is it we need to do? She goes, okay. So what she says, it's different for everybody, but the way she does it is she sits and focuses so she could picture it in her mind. Now, a lot of people don't realize that what you picture in your mind can be sometimes otherworldly.
Manifesting.
So what she said was she could picture herself sitting in a chair, an empty chair next to her. In that chair would be the spirit. And then she would see some stairs going up into oblivion or up into a light. And she would say, you need to go up those stairs and move on. And they either do, or she would use her spirit guide to bring somebody back to bring them over. And you wouldn't be able to see the person that they're bringing back over, but they could, because it was something that was attached to them. So I go, okay, I can do that. And she goes, you can do it however you want to do it. And I said, well, okay. So for me, I had a very simple idea in mind. So the next morning, I got ready for work. I'm running a little early. I've got some time. I'm like, all right. So I grab a chair, I put it inside the walk-in closet, and I turn out the light and I shut the door. I'm not afraid of the dark. So I can sit in a dark room, whether somebody says there's a ghost there, or if there is or is not a ghost there, I can sit in a dark room. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
So I park myself in there and I sit and I focus. I breathe, smooth and out, in through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm focusing, feeling everything around me. And then I picture a white room. I picture 2 comfortable chairs. And I picture a door in front of me. Just a white door. And then I picture the spirit of this woman to the right of me. In my mind, I'm seeing this crazy haired spirit. She's like, her feet are up on the chair and she's just kind of crazy almost. And I go, you need to go through the door. And she screams at me, no, I'm not going. You can't make me. There's nothing you can do to make me. And I go, okay. So I asked my spirit guide, and it was Michael, St. Michael. And I say, you need to bring somebody from the other side. So the door cracks open and somebody comes through that I can't see. It's just a mist of a person, silhouetted person. And they wave to her. And all of a sudden she gets this shocked look on her face and then she smiles and she runs to the door. And as she's leaving, she waves goodbye to me and goes through the door with Michael and this other spirit. And the door shuts. And then I turn on the light and I go, I don't have any more time. I got to go. Grab the chair, put it back in the kitchen.
You got like work or something, right?
Yeah, I was heading to work. It's like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So I go to work. I start my day and I do my thing. I'm working. And then I get a call, I'd say about 4 or 5 hours later. Your mom was just getting up. She was getting in the shower. She got out. She got you up. And she's getting ready for the day. And she looks over and you are in the closet playing.
Yeah. She
immediately calls me up. You're not going to believe this. He's in the closet playing right now as if she was never there. And I'm all asking, is she there? And she asked you. And you said, no, she's gone. She was just gone.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was like, no way that worked.
very powerful manifestation of energy.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was so crazy because you and I didn't talk. You were 2 years old. You were barely two, and it was like,
And I was chaotic, so I would not have listened to you if you said anything half the time.
you wouldn't listen. You were always been like that, a little rebellious.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where the fact that I manifested that, and it happened, and it worked, and you were perfectly okay after that, and you would play in that closet all the time after that, no problem.
And the weird thing is, I fully remember that spirit too, like how it looked. Like I remember the hand. Okay, imagine
like a thin, bony hand.
Yeah, well, kind of more like a glove. It was gloved. I remember. Yeah,
okay.
it had like a very Victorian dress style. It was a white Victorian dress, and it had frills. So I remember that. But I also remember it going headless at one point, and that was fucking terrifying to me.
Well, the fact that it was trying to get you is what bothered me, I think, the most.
Yeah, that was the place with the bunk beds too.
No, that was different. That you were much younger then, and it was just you and we were still in the apartment. This is the apartment before that duplex, and before we moved to the house where you guys had separate beds and had his own bedroom, and before the apartment that had the bunk beds.
I remember the duplex also had bunk beds.
No, it did. It had a crib and it had the fire truck bed.
No, because we also had a bunk bed. I remember this.
We did not have bunk beds in there. No,
guys.
I'm telling you.
Even if it was at the end of it. What's up?
I was thinking that we could do that, like one more story, and then we can move on to Dad's experiences with his like paranormal investigation. I was thinking we could do the story of that time with just like in the corner of the room.
Well, actually, I was going to get to that. That's the duplex house. So,
duplex.
Time went on. Saint would see ghosts here and there, but most of the time it was my father or your mother's father would show up. Your grandfathers were always showing up. And they both had died before you guys were born. So with Saint, he was seeing a lot of things, but it was all kind of general, and your mom and I had just gotten used to it. Used to seeing stuff like that. And I was doing a lot of paranormal work at that time. Because we were seeing so much going on. And this is when we lived in Sacramento. We saw a lot of stuff in the paranormal work that we were doing. And I didn't bring too much home. If there was ever anything that kind of showed up, but it would drift away after a little while. There was once you guys had a little toy that was a Sesame Street toy, and the damn thing would go off in the middle of the night. We could hear it from our room at the back of the apartment.
Was it that little one that looked like two like plate things connected, and it had buttons on it?
It had a little steering wheel in the center. It had buttons on both sides.
There's actually a thing about that's not actually haunted related that I figured out. When it gets low on batteries, it has to signify the people who own it.
Well, no. It was going off when we had batteries out of it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's haunted. It's fun.
Yeah.
That is separate.
Well, and the fact that I had thrown it out twice, and it showed back up in your fucking toy box twice.
That'll do it.
Until I took it out and just destroyed it and threw it in the garbage. Every little piece of it went in the garbage, and it never came back.
Yep, that sounds about right.
So I had enough.
Yeah.
It was waking us up, and I'd get up to go get a drink out of the kitchen, and it would go off. And I was telling myself at first that, it's just the vibrations from me walking through, but it wasn't. It was trying to scare me.
Yeah.
But during that time, I had actually built up a kind of a no fear of anything for a while there. I was not scared of anything. I was the guy on the team that when everyone was like, well, we have to go up to the attic. We heard noises up there. Somebody's up there walking around, or there's a raccoon up there. And
living like an actual horror movie trope, pretty much.
Yes.
And just being like, nah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, let's go. I'll go. Help me up. And they'd push me up into attics and stuff, and I'd crawl around, wouldn't find anything. I had no fear about that. I had no problem with it. And I go, if a ghost is going to try and hurt me, I'd love to see it. Never happened. So anyway, going back to your stories about you, Saint, is we lived in this little duplex, and your younger brother, was still a baby. This was in his first years. you guys shared a bedroom. He was in the crib. You were in a little fire engine bed, and you started seeing things. You kept talking about these bats that are flying around in your room, and I'm all son, there's no bats. There's no way bats could get in here. And I'm telling you, there's no bat. And you go, Daddy, I see those bats. I'm like, I'm telling you, there's no bats in there. You have nothing to worry about. We had a room right across the hall from him, like right across. And we would leave both doors open when we'd go to bed, just so you could come in and see us if you were scared about anything. You never really did. And you would come in and tell us, but you guys weren't the crawling to mom and dad's bed kind of kids. You just didn't do it very often.
I think I asked a couple times.
You've climbed into our bed a few times, but it was so few and far between.
Yeah.
You guys just weren't. You and all your brothers just weren't those kinds of kids. You just didn't come in there very often.
On the offhand, I would come in and stare at you guys while you guys were asleep, though.
Which would freak us out because I had the bed. My side of the bed was closest to the door. She went beeline straight to me, and you just stand there and stare at me, and I'd wake up and go, "What the fuck? What do you need, son?" Nothing. I was just checking on you. Okay, let's get you to bed. And I had to walk you back to your bed and put you in,
which I think
and you
is
go
also
right to sleep.
Paranormal related, because obviously I had that one where
you
guys yelling and screaming. So I came to check on you guys.
Yeah. You were checking on us, and this was a small little duplex.
It was just kind of fucking.
It felt big to me because I was small.
Yeah, but it wasn't big at all. It was super tiny. This thing was like maybe 900 square feet total.
Really?
And it was tiny.
Yeah.
But there was one night where I heard a noise. I'm not sure what I heard. I'm like, and it woke me up. I'm like, what time is it? I don't even know what time it is. And so I stumble across the hall and I look in. You had a little nightlight in the corner, and I'm looking around and I don't see you. I see he's fine. He's asleep. He's a baby. He's in his crib. I look around. You're not in your bed. So I check the closet. I look underneath your bed. I look underneath the crib. Where the hell did this kid go? So I go out to the front room and I look around, look in the kitchen, the bathroom, our bed. And where did he go? And I start to panic a little because I'm like, where's my son? And then I hear a noise in the bedroom again. So I go back into your room and I'm looking around. I know I heard something. And then I hear the door move. And I look over and you are in the corner behind the door facing into the corner. And I go, son, are you okay? And you don't say anything. So I turn you around. So you're facing me. Son, are you okay? And you were doing this deep, evil look with your head tipped down. You're looking up at me.
As I do.
And of course, because you're the demon child that you are. But you look up at me and I go, all right, well, that's enough of this, son. And I shake you a little bit. Son, are you okay? And it's like you snap out of it and you go, hey, Dad, what are you doing? Buddy, let's get you back to bed. And I put you back in the bed. I don't think I went back to sleep that night.
Basically,
was scared to death. I didn't understand what was going on, but I put you back in the bed and I stood over you and you went right back to sleep like nothing had happened. You were out cold. During that time, though, you were also having night terrors. Now, this is something you guys don't know. I mean, I know we've told you guys about it, but when your child screams like they're being murdered in the middle of the night, your mom and I would freak out and go running into the room to see what's going on, and you're just laying in bed screaming, and we're like, there's nothing around. Why are you screaming? We'd wake you up, and you're crying, and you're screaming, and we just pat your head, rub your back, and you'd go back to sleep. It would freak us out, and you were doing this a lot in this house.
Yeah.
So I think those night terrors had a lot to do with the paranormal stuff going on. And you would tell us about how your preschool teacher was in your room, and that you turned her head, and then it fell off.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in, because
they were definitely ganging up on me, trying to spook the shit out of me.
And this goes to one of my theories, is that when I think you have the ability to see the paranormal, hear, feel, sense them, your aura for your energy within your body comes off differently. And I think there was a big part of you that when you were little, you were very strong. You had a strong ability, and they could sense it. And if they can do that and they can get you to believe, then the more you believe, the more they can get through to our side. They can talk to our side. And that's really, I think, where they're at. So I think they were trying to get you to be scared so that you would believe more and that you could talk for them.
Yeah,
Does
kind
that
of
make
as
sense?
like a mediator.
Yeah. And it was so amazing, the stuff that you could see. Now, this is about the time that I met your Aunt Ro, by the way. And their Aunt Ro is a good friend of mine who I've been good friends with. She's the only other psychic that I truly believe has abilities that are far beyond our comprehension. She has proven it over and over again. And we can even talk about some of the stuff she had seen and done during a lot of our investigations.
What was the thing you said you wanted us to lead into, by the way? Earlier?
Some of Dad's ghost investigations, because
Ah,
I have heard a lot about him, but I feel like it would be good to bring him up here.
yeah.
Sure. Well, there was a few different times where things got out of control, and it scared us. And then when we're talking about on most cases, it was a 5 to 6 person team. We tried to keep it even because nobody should ever investigate alone. And this is something I really want the internet to hear: is that ghost hunting is never a solo job. You should always have somebody with you. Not only does it help protect you, but it also
Verifies your experiences.
verifies your experiences.
It's very important you have somebody second there that lets you know you're not just seeing things. Someone who can double up and say, "Yeah, you saw that. I saw it too."
Yeah, exactly.
It helps verify it. It's very
So,
important.
with that said, one of the investigations that we did, one of the ones we first got once we became a 501c3 organization, nonprofit organization, was that there was a woman who was having stuff happen in her house, constantly happening in her house, and she wanted us to investigate it to find out what was going on. So we set up cameras, and I still have the videotapes.
I remember actually looking through those tapes at one point
Yeah.
and really just enjoying just watching, seeing if I could find anything. And there would be orbs and shit, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Damn."
And you'll hear people talk about orbs, and there is a difference between dust orbs, rain orbs. There's all kinds of things that,
bugs.
but yeah, bugs even. But when you can see the difference and know the difference when an orb is moving with thought,
Yeah.
where it moves and takes a 90-degree angle right, but it's straight lines, you know it's not dust, you know it's not rain, you know it's not bugs.
You can also tell there's kind of like a space difference. Like if you can see something like flying into a door, like even slowly, but it's like you can see it's a big orb. It's not something that's just in front of the camera.
Yeah.
There's a depth perception to it that really gives it like this understanding that, oh shit, that's not a bug, that's not dust, that's something else. It's
Sure.
got to have this depth to it. Obviously, not always will it be like very flow. Sometimes it can move faster, so it makes it a little harder to tell, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's very important to try to decipher whether it is or isn't something.
And it goes back to my original thoughts on this methodology.
Yeah.
Is if you can explain it, then that's not paranormal, that's normal.
Yeah.
So orbs can very much be something paranormal. Do all ghosts appear as orbs? I used to think, my theory was that they all appeared on camera as orbs, but now as technology has moved forward and a lot more a lot clearer pictures and camera work can be done, you can really tell when it manifests into a human body. You can tell when it's traveling through. Do they still appear as orbs? Yes, I still believe they can. I think that's like a body at rest.
Yeah.
Spirit at rest, when they're not trying to drain energy, try and show themselves, can appear as an orb.
I actually have a video on my phone where I went to the abandoned hospital that's nearby with a couple of my friends, two of them, and we were just looking for stuff. We were trying to do an actual kind of investigation. One of us was faking just about everything, and it was very clear because they're dramatic, but we actually did catch something, like an actual, like, it wasn't so much of a mist so much as it was like a figure, but it had like a mist-like appearance to it. And I turned the camera because we hear something down the hall, because there's a lot of long halls. When we look at this I'm looking at my phone, right, because I'm recording it all on my phone. My phone's higher depth because
And how long ago was this?
a couple of years ago, maybe
I think it was probably like
4
5 to 6 years.
Oh, maybe it's 5 to 6. Actually, that
Yeah.
sounds more right.
Because you've been out of high school for a while.
Yeah, it was nearing the end of high school, I think.
Yeah.
But I remember in particular we heard something down the hall. I aimed the camera over, and I actually caught a glimpse of it on camera. So I do have it.
Yeah.
But
Well, and that's the thing, is that you're going to catch certain things. This, to finish the story,
Yeah.
that I was saying, is that this house had more than a couple times seen things going through the room. It was mostly centered around this closet for some reason. It wasn't so much a closed door closet, it was an open walk-in closet. And then they had sliding glass doors on the right side and the left, and then they had just shelves at the far back of it. So there was a lot of surrounding stuff in there. Now, down the hall in this apartment, there was a shelf that was, I would say, about shoulder height. And then there was a couple pictures of some statuettes in front of it. And when we just went to go talk to them, now, part of our investigations when we would do this was we'd go and interview these people. And the reason why we did interviews before we did an investigation is because investigations take a lot of time. We have to set up cameras and microphones and recordings. We have to place people. We have to do our general setup. And if we were going to do all of that, we had to interview these people and make sure they weren't just, batshit crazy.
yeah.
So, because there was one guy we interviewed. We had gone and met him at a Denny's kind of restaurant. And as we're talking to him, he goes, I got tons of proof. I got all this information. I want to show it to you guys. And we're like, okay, well, let's see what you have. So he opens up this album and he's taken 1,000 pictures of this mirror that it looked like he had smeared, like he was cleaning it off, and it smeared. And he goes, look at this. You can see the lizard right there. And I'm all, in the reflection? And he goes, no, right on the glass. Right there where I was wiping it, it made a lizard face. Oh, really? And then he talked about how the bushes, where he was taking photos of these kids riding bikes, there's a lizard face in the bush. The leaves made a lizard face. And I was like, oh, really? And he kept wiping his face, and he was talking really hurried. And then he said, I asked him, do you have any medical conditions? Do you have any medications that you take? I stopped taking those medications. Oh, really? What was the medication for? And he said, he goes, I have a hard time sleeping. But and he goes, I just have a hard time sleeping. Sometimes sleeping. I need to take pills so I can sleep. And I'm all, okay, has it been a while? And he goes, it might have been, a few extra days recently. And I go, okay. Does your wife know about this? Because I knew that he was married. And I'm all, does your wife know about this? And he goes, yeah, she's fully aware. And I'm all, can we talk to her? So he gets her on the phone, and this is when cell phones were still fairly new. So he gets her on the phone, and I talk to her, and I go, hello? And she's like, please don't believe anything he's saying. He hasn't slept in almost a week. His CPAP machine hasn't been working, and he stopped taking his medications. Where are you guys at? So I gave her the address. I told her, we'll keep him here, distracted, if you could come get him. And she goes, I'm on my way. And we kept him distracted until she showed up, and then she took him home.
Yeah.
So this is why we do interviews in advance, and we do it in a public place.
Yeah.
It made it easier for us to figure out who's crazy and who's not. So these folks, I go to their house. And it's a woman, her boyfriend, and they have a couple of kids, teenage kids. So I go in the house, and we're walking around, and it's like a normal apartment. There's, clothes here and there, but it's a normal apartment. And we're walking around, we're talking, and we kept hearing noises coming from the bedroom, and we go back and look, and there's nobody there. And we're standing in the hallway next to that little shelf, like I said, was about shoulder height. And there's a big picture there. And so we're standing there talking, and all of a sudden this picture, and we're not standing next to it, it falls off this shelf and cracks and breaks.
Oh, dang.
And here's the crazy part: there was little statuettes in front of it, like these. I don't know what you would call them, but they were like little cute little statuettes in front of it, and it
Knickknacks.
like knickknacks. This thing has somehow jumped over those and fallen. It didn't knock over any of the little statuettes, but it fell hard enough to break this thing. So we were like, okay, that was weird, but maybe it was just off center. Maybe something pushed it. Maybe one of us bumped it. We just didn't realize we bumped it. But then we started taking note of, okay, well, the little statuettes have not moved. They're still there. That's weird. And then when we go to take the picture, pick up the pictures, because we're going to help her clean up her hallway. So we're picking up the glass and the frame has broken. So we're taking it apart, and there was a picture behind it from like, I don't know, early 1900s or late 1800s. And it was a picture of a man and woman. It was a very old picture, very, very old picture of a man and woman. And it talks about an almond field, that he was a farmer in an almond field. Just at the bottom, it says something on there. I can't remember what exactly it said, but it was about an almond field. So we look at this picture and we snap photos of it, and she goes, I don't know what that is. The front picture originally was the San Francisco Giants. It was a baseball team.
Really?
So why would it have this picture behind it? And I'm going, where did you get this picture? Is it family or anything? She goes, I don't know who those people are. I have no idea. I don't know where that came from. I picked this up at a Goodwill for like a couple of bucks. And I'm a Giants fan. I just wanted it up my wall. I've had it in there for months. And I'm like, oh, for months.
Haunted items.
Haunted item. So we take pictures of it. And then we start to do some background work. This is the craziest part. We did some background work on the land itself. So this apartment complex used to be in my old neighborhood. Oh, and I remember I had friends that lived there in those same apartments. But when you do the history on it, that whole area was an almond farm.
Huh.
Yeah.
And the people that lived on the land, the stuff we had researched to find the background history on, the people on the land died in their home. Supposedly it was a murder-suicide.
Oh, damn.
So this guy had killed his wife. He was apparently a very jealous man. Killed his wife and then himself.
Yep.
So we were like, and this picture that was somehow in their house, in their apartment.
Yeah.
It was their picture. It was the couple. So we're like, how would it make its way back to this land, to where this house could have been, on this farm which has been cleared since like, I grew up in the 80s, and this has been there my whole life. And it's always been an apartment complex. So we're talking like way, 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 way back. So we did all this research. Now, as a team, we're always looking to do it very scientifically. We wanted to make sure that we weren't, corrupting people's thoughts and, the way they think, what they see. So, especially with our psychics, because we always thought psychics might be a good way to bring in. It wasn't just the scientific part of it, what we could do. Those of us who are not psychic, as to what we could see and find.
The two sides to it, the logic and the emotional side. The emotional side ties into the whole spiritual area. It's
definitely.
It's very important, but there is a logic side to it too, so that you can actually prove it.
Exactly, and that's the thing is, I wanted it to be logical. I wanted it to make sense. And all this was all in a very mystical way starting to make sense.
Yeah.
So we bring in my psychic friend, Sandy, who I told you about before. I don't know if you remember Sandy. She used to babysit you guys every so often.
Vaguely, maybe?
She's the one who told me about you when you were little, how to work with the energy in the room and to put, picture it. I ended up picturing a door and putting the spirit through it. So Sandy goes with us on this investigation. She went to the interview with me. She ended up being one of my really good friends, and she also ended up being one of the best investigators. But she was also very psychic, and she could see them, hear them. She had spirits in her own house, which I'll get to if we have time. But I bring her with me, and we brought her to the investigation. Me and this other guy that will be the two main guys for this team. once that picture fell and broke, and then we started doing research, we're like, we have to investigate this place. We have to investigate this.
Yeah. And it becomes less like a chore so much, and it becomes this kind of really fun thing to do. Like, we're going detective mode on this shit, and you just like search up everything for it.
Oh yeah, we were so excited. Also on that investigation, we figured out something, was that once we decided we were going to investigate, everything would ramp up for like really bad. Like they were trying to convince these folks to not have us come to their house or come to their apartment even. And this would happen every time. It would ramp up, and then literally the day before, nothing would happen. All this stuff is happening, stuff's flying, they'd hear noises all night, screams out of nowhere, things like that, and then all of a sudden, bam, nothing.
Okay, so the way I imagine it is like, these are all just people. Ghosts are just people. And if you get into someone's backstory that they don't want you to know, of course they're going to flip their shit. So obviously, ghosts flip their shit if you try to search into their stuff.
Sure.
I've kind of always viewed ghosts as kind of these people. You know, it is just people.
It is.
So if you imagine, like, people are everywhere, right? And people have been everywhere. People also die everywhere, which means there's people everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
So even places like Walmart or like, you know, like a Starbucks, even before it was, you know, those places, there's still going to be stuff there because they were in those areas.
And I've been asked that question, you know, if there are ghosts, if we all turn into just ghosts, why aren't there ghosts everywhere? My theory on this is that there are people who travel on. Most people do just travel on to the next realm or level or whatever you want to call it. The people who get stuck here are people that are like, it's hard to believe, it's some atheists who don't believe that there is anything. And then all of a sudden they're ghosts and they're like, well, I guess there is something else after death. Yeah. You know, it doesn't just go to blackness. But then there's also the folks that are traumatized by their death. Something that's very traumatic happens and they lose their life suddenly and they don't realize that they are dead. And then there's the echoes, and that's one of the ones we used to see fairly often. Was an echo is a spirit that is stuck on a loop,
reliving it over and over,
and because they don't realize.
And it can be mundane things such as doing chores or just walking around, but it can also be the very traumatic thing that happened.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unfortunate for those ones because it's, you know, think about it like you're stuck doing the same horrible thing over and over.
Yeah.
But it's when you start to tell them like, hey, you're dead. You know, like you've already went through this. It's already over. And that they're able to move on. They're finally able to feel that peace. And it's like
the realization.
Yeah.
When they realize what's really going on, it's kind of like you snap out of this loop and you go, oh my gosh. And then you'll feel the pull. I think it's just like a pull, and
the echoes are still the people. It's just a traumatic event. It's like it's like PTSD, for example.
Yeah.
Like you're reliving this traumatic moment, but when you get past it, when you're able to move and live with it, you know, it becomes this freedom of knowing it's no longer happening.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they feel about it too. I would assume it is.
You know, and I'm actually of the same mind. I think that ghosts tend to be just regular people stuck in an unusual situation for them, something that they don't have any understanding of. And like when I die, I feel like I'll know what better to do. Most people deny the existence of spirits, and I think you're going to have a harder time. In my mind, those folks are going to have a harder time understanding what's happening at the end. So
many people deny it without actually looking into it, and it's. There's so much evidence to prove that it's a thing that it can't be wrong. There's just too much evidence. And people will look at the evidence and be like, nah, that's just this and this and this. And it's like...
And over the last couple centuries, there is even more evidence. People just don't realize it's truly out there.
And I have a personal belief as well. Because obviously we see in like Saudi Arabia, like ghost hunters there. You know, they're dealing with jinn. You know, and it's insane because it's like these ghosts are able to like toss whole water tanks and shit and slam doors and project themselves. I feel that like religion and personal beliefs, I think all of them are true to a certain extent. Like, our human energy can manifest things to happen. Once we're pure energy, we collectively merge our energy into our personal beliefs, meaning like our certain afterlives, no matter which one it is, have a certain amount of people believing it, meaning it's a thing, it's true. So imagine heaven, like you're a Christian, you believe in God, you're and Jesus
Angels.
and angels, and you go to heaven. That's true because so many people believe in it. The same is to be said about, like, let's say the reincarnation belief. You know, you believe in reincarnation, and everybody who believes in this reincarnation, it is merged together, their energies, you know, so it becomes real. So you do reinstall your mind into a newborn, you become.
Well, and that leads into one of my other theories about what heaven really is. I think that because we are energy, we will feel a pull towards an even stronger energy force, the center of our universe.
Like a magnet.
Like a magnet. We would feel the pull to go to it. Now imagine if we have that much energy on our own, what is it like when you have millions of people with the same energy conglomerated into one area? That's a lot of energy. So when we get feel that pull, we could travel at faster than the speed of light to it if we just give into it. So we travel, which is why you see a tunnel when people talk about their deaths and they see a tunnel and they feel pulled towards that tunnel. I think it's that energy that you're feeling the strength of that energy at the center of our universe, which is this giant ball of light. You go to that, and then you're joining with all this other energy. Of course, you're going to see whatever your belief is. So if you believe that heaven truly is a bunch of clouds and people and angels with harps and tunics and stuff, that's what you're going to see when you die. Yeah. And then, or if you feel like, oh, you're going to be reincarnated, maybe you get there and then they loop you back through and send you back. Yeah. And then your energy reappears as a baby next. Yeah. So it's because of the conglomerate of energy that's in the center of our universe, it pulls you in because it's constantly sending out energy. It sends energy out, it needs energy back. So it's a constant recycling of all of our energy. Yeah. Ghosts are the spirits that don't travel, didn't go to the pole.
Or was hung up about certain beliefs.
Yes.
Things like, obviously, psychopaths, murderers. These people didn't believe in anything except for what they were doing. They were like, I'm killing.
But I also still believe that if they know that they've done wrong to people, that they're evil, that they are going to go to a hell.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how long you'd say that. I think it's all in their own belief. If they believe that they're going to go to hell and they're going to be tortured for all of eternity, they're going to end up there until they figure out that they don't have to be. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, though, I was raised Christian, and I have very strong belief systems set in that. Yeah. We gave you boys the option to choose.
Freelance.
Yeah, my dad gave me a choice to choose what belief in it I wanted to be in. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a priest at one point. Yeah. You know, I have very strong beliefs. But I also believe that what I think is not what you're going to think. What Gateman's not going to think. You guys have your own minds. You're your own adults. You can choose that option. And I think that free will is what God gave us as a gift. Yeah. Do I still believe that there are guardian angels, spirit guides? Yeah. Yes, I believe in all of that. I think, and I'm going to quote Macklemore from one of his rap songs, and he says, "It doesn't matter what God you believe in, we all pray to the same one." So no matter what we think of as our God, as a God, we all are praying to the same thing.
Yeah. I kind of have my own. That's kind of where I split a little bit. I have a little bit different beliefs in it. Like, I believe that God and angels exist and stuff. I think everything exists to a degree, obviously. But I think they're more of an evolution, a fusion of our energy once we pass on more than anything. And because it's a fusion of our energy, we all kind of go somewhere no matter where we go. more based on our specific beliefs while we're here and alive. You know, we have a physical, corporeal form that's not corporeal, but it's fused with our mortal selves. So we have kind of a very like big system that we don't fully understand yet, but we're all leading towards something eventually.
Yeah.
And each of our lives matter because I personally believe that God is an evolution of humanity, and one day we will all become. Yeah, I'm kind of bringing it out a bit, but yeah,
Okay, and
generally.
this could be a discussion later on. Let me finish the story because we are running out of
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So at this apartment we had gone through, and Sandy, so when we bring our psychics in to tell us, what they see, what they feel, we would never tell them the history because we want to see if they can guess it right. We were constantly testing psychics, and we'd believe anybody. If somebody says, "Oh, I have the psychic ability to see ghosts," and da 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 da, we'd give them a chance. But I would say about 90% of those people had no idea what they were doing.
yeah.
And they just wanted the attention. And so I truly don't believe everybody is fully aware of their psychic levels. But there are only two in this world that I fully believe that they have the psychic ability. One of them is Sandy, the other one is your Aunt Ro.
Yeah.
So, with that said, Sandy and I she comes to the investigation with us. She's walking through the apartment. We don't tell her anything. We just tell her, tell us what you feel, what you see, what you think. And she goes, there's a man and a woman in here. They used to live on this land back when it was farming. And she goes, and the man is holding her here. He is holding her hostage in this apartment. He is holding her because their house was on this spot. He is holding her here. And I'm sensing something. They were not aware that they were even stuck, but something was brought back to this land and made them aware of who they were and what they were doing. And with that said, I said, okay, well, we need to get rid of this guy. And she goes, oh, I can do that. So we get this guy to leave. He leaves. The spirit is gone, and the discussion is you do not talk about him. You don't talk about spirits at all. It's all over. Give it 2 weeks, and we'll be back, and maybe 3 to just kind of discuss, but don't talk about it until you see us. They agree. We pack up all of our stuff and we leave. The video we have, you can see an orb, straight line, come around one of our investigators, circle around him twice, and then zip off into the closet. Then we see single orbs going in and out of the closet, back and forth, and we see ones that would come in and stop behind an investigator, just stop midair, and it's just this little circle behind them. And this is literally like 4 or 5 hours of video we sat through, and we constantly see these orbs moving around the room, circling around us. Amazing footage. So then 2 or 3 weeks pass. Sandy calls me up. She says, hey, I talked to him. We can go see them. I'll pick you up and we'll go over. And I'm like, sounds good. And she picks me up, and I had just started wearing contacts, and they were hard lenses. You've never worn contacts. Hard lenses really hurt your eyes. They make it feel like your eyes are tired. And so I'm really just trying to get used to it. I just started wearing them. And so she picked me up and she goes, your eyes are acting weird. And I'm like, I'm getting used to these new contacts. And she goes, oh, okay. So I wasn't driving, so she was driving. So I'm trying to get used to them. Everything's fine. We drive there. We go and we're talking with her, and she goes, nothing has happened. It's been clear in here. She goes, we might have heard a couple things, but nothing really showed up. And I go, let's go to the bedroom. The closet was one of the focal points for these spirits. We want to just kind of feel it out. So we go in there, and the way it was set up was when you walked in the door, the bed was to the right. The closet was towards the back on the left. And so we go in the room, go to the right, and we go to the end of the bed on the right-hand side, facing towards the closet that's on the left. Does that make sense?
I believe so.
Okay. So Sandy's sitting down on the bed, and I'm standing up, behind her. And we're both facing towards the closet. The owner comes in and sits on the side of the bed, the opposite corner, and we're talking to her. And I look up and I see what looks to be like a smoky silhouette of a woman lean out of the closet and then lean back in. And I immediately go to fix my contacts and rub my eyes, and Sandy, who's sitting right in front of me, goes, I just saw a woman lean out of that closet. This is why you want two people.
Just like the Sith, the rule of twos.
Yeah.
Two people.
A master and apprentice. So, but the fact that she said that, I went, what? What did you say? She goes, I just saw a silhouette, white silhouette, like smoky almost, but it was a silhouette of a woman lean out of that closet and lean back in. And I went, I saw that too. I thought it was my contacts. And she goes, no, that was her. And then she tells me that this woman was so appreciative of what we did for her that she wanted to show herself to us because now she is free to move on.
Yeah.
So she waited in this apartment to show her appreciation. She knew we were fairly new to this paranormal thing, and she wanted to show herself to us.
Yeah.
So she showed herself to us, and then she moved on. And the fact that we acknowledged that we saw her helped her move on.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty amazing. Now, there are other times when I've seen spirits, but that was my first time seeing an actual spirit manifest in front of me.
Yeah.
Like that, or like a physical manifestation where I could see it and someone else saw it at the same time.
Yeah.
Sandy was with me the second time I saw a spirit too.
Yeah.
And that one was a little scarier, and we'll talk about that one another
Probably
time.
another time.
But
We're kind of cutting close here.
yeah, we're over our time.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to get into some more. So maybe we'll do some more stories about paranormal. We'll talk about horror movies. We'll get into other things like demonology, which I was considered the demonologist on our team.
Yeah.
Scary things, scary things.
I actually have some stories for that too. So
Oh, fantastic.
yeah,
Okay.
that'll be a great combo.
So we appreciate everybody listening, though.
Yeah, we'll have to bring those topics up on another date. Actually, that sounds pretty good. But for
Yeah.
now, we'll just head out then. If you want to find us, we have a place in Reddit, we have a place in Twitter, and if you find us on YouTube, you can find us on Spotify and vice versa. That should be it.
All right.
Take care, everybody. Then. Okay.
Take
bye.
care.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
And
Skip it up.